Hi, I'm Chrissy,
And I'm Jess.
and this is Financial Progress. We have another guest again, a repeat guest, Hector, Jessica's husband. He's here to talk to us about their experience being married and sharing finances and just the journey and progression that they've made over the years. So I'm excited to hear from them. Thank you again for showing up. Appreciate it. And we just want to hear about part of your story. Like, when did you realize that things aren't going well financially? Wanted to make a change or a shift in the way things were working in your financial progression? And what sparked that change and what initiated paying attention to all your finances?
You can start.
You want me to
Take the
start?
lead on this one. You get it going, and then I'll fill in the blanks.
So I'm going to start from the beginning. So we had our child, moved in, got married, all in a matter of months. Like it was crazy. And was our first time moving out of our parents' home and being responsible for bills. And I just remember a couple months in seeing the shut off notices. And I was just like, what's going on? I was like, babe, like, are you not paying the bills? And then that moment is when I kind of became the CFO of the household. I would say a very amateur CFO. It was just more like, I'm paying the bills. And yes.
Well, you were much more organized with it. Like the way you break all of our bills down with the dates of when they're due, and you have everything in the blocks of week one, week two, week three, and stuff like that. I would have never have thought to put all your bills down on paper like that, or come up with a plan of just like, all right, first check's handling these bills, second check's handling these bills, because you're always getting paid bi-weekly. We never had a weekly paycheck.
I learned that from my mother. So my mom used to have a notebook and it would have like all the bills and she would I think had the dates and then like the amounts. And that's kind of where, I saw that. And not she never talked about it, but I saw it and it was there. So it was just like, oh, okay. So when we came to this place of having to do this, it was just like, okay, let me write it down. So 16 years ago, that's what it was. It was just like, let me just write it down. I was a stay-at-home mom, so I wasn't bringing anything in. So it was just like, okay, he gets paid this check. Let's see when the bills come out, and that's literally the basic of what I was doing, and just making sure what I was paying them.
And of course, we weren't making enough.
No, we were a low-income family, and I found out I was pregnant again. So it was just like,
That caught us by surprise.
it's like, oh yeah,
Honeymoon baby.
how are we gonna make this? So we struggled for years, and
Accumulated a good amount of debt to the point where we're like, hey, if we follow this plan, when we first started like realizing we needed to change. And
when did you realize that? When did you
uh
realize, like, or did you even
well,
realize?
it's see, that's the thing, is since I relied on you to do that stuff, I didn't get to see it. I would only see it based on your reactions on doing bills. If she's upset after doing bills, we're screwed. I didn't bring in enough money this week, and it was kind of a trend where it was like when she does bills, it was a depressing time because we're like, how are we doing this? How are we going to survive if, we keep living to pay bills and that's it? We're not doing anything. So I didn't feel it the way you felt. So it wasn't like a aha moment for me. It was more or less when we started the whole Dave Ramsey thing and laying everything out, and we're like, okay, if we follow this plan, we'll be out of debt in 3 years. And it was like 3 years just to get out of debt. It's like it's crazy, and it's a learning experience. Hindsight 2020. What we know now, we knew 16 years ago. We would probably be in a whole different situation right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, living it up, and
I
um,
would say though, I wanted him to feel it one day. So I was like, you are gonna balance the checkbook. So my mom always balanced the checkbook on like, like the transaction book, and she would write everything down. So I also learned that from her, and that's how I kept track of everything, make sure that it matched the bank. And since he wasn't feeling it, I was like, I need you to feel this. And I remember handing it over to him and him writing everything down and him watching it go negative. Negative 100, negative 200, negative 300, so that
nothing but negative signs in front of our total amount on the transaction. And it was just like, how do we do this? Like, how are we $900 in debt when I just got paid yesterday? Like, where did that money go?
Yeah.
So
literally negative to negative. Budget deficit, and it was every paycheck, so it was depressing. So it was just like, okay, the next paycheck is going to pay the old bills, but then the new bills aren't getting.
It's kind of like we were playing Russian roulette with the bills. It was like, all right, first one to cash wins. You win the balance of what's due this month. The other ones will get your next paycheck or something like that. So
Big minimums on all the credit cards though, but that was it.
So how did the Dave Ramsey program shift everything into more of like planning ahead instead of looking at what actually happened after the fact?
For me, it was seeing everything in front of you and knowing, okay, we're going to attack these debts first. And it was putting a plan in place that helped us. And we knew if we were disciplined, we're going to exceed our timeline that we put forth for ourselves. It was like, all right, we can be out of debt in like 3 years, but if we stay disciplined, you don't always go out to eat, things like that. We realized that 3 years can be 2.5 years. And then you do side things. You start selling stuff that we don't use no more. You do side jobs. You earn money on the side and all that stuff just instead of you like, oh, I got extra money. It was like that extra money is going straight to a debt, and helping us with saving on interest. Because, I mean, that's the main thing is once you get past a certain amount, the interest alone is what your minimum payment's going to cover, So if you're not sending more than that, you're just in a never ending cycle.
What helped too was 2 years prior before us starting, I officially started working part-time. So there was like, okay, it's not a huge income, but it was still something that was helping us. And just bringing in, I was only bringing in like 20,000 a year. Just bringing in that 20,000 was just like, okay, we're not living in a budget deficit anymore. Now we're okay. Like, okay means like maybe $300 left over, if that. But now we have something to play with. So when we started Dave Ramsey, wrote everything down because I tried life before starting that plan. I just wasn't doing it wisely, I guess, or like consistently and making sure. So when we started, had everything written down and was just like, all right, we can do this. We're going to do it. But it also helped too with him seeing more of what was happening behind the scenes.
And there was a light at the end of the tunnel type of thing where it's like, you're going to get through it. You're going to get out of it. And then once you get out of it, it's like when we paid off a car, it was like, what are we going to do with this? We knew what we were going to do with it, but it was just like, we don't have this bill no more. This 270 something bucks or whatever it was. It was like, okay, that's going to go to something else. That can even go into a vacation fund for ourselves, because we always like to do things regardless of whether we have money or not. And that's part of the reason why we were in more debt. But now it's like we can schedule vacations and not have to pay for that vacation up to a year later. It's paid for already in advance. So when you get home, it's like you enjoy the vacation and you're not like, oh, I'm still paying for a vacation I took 6 months ago, which is the worst feeling. It's like, I already had that fun. Why am I still paying for it?
Even though we did deal with that last year, but we're better prepared.
Well, last year was an aberration with everything that went on in life. So it was something that we fell off track, but we were so well in the good side that we were able to do that without hurting ourselves really bad. We still had money set aside that can help catch us up. We just didn't want to touch it. We're like, we're not touching it regardless. But if we need to, we have it, so it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like we were like in the crazy amount of debt and that debt, because we were still able to buy another car and we paid it off in a year. It was 6-year payments and we paid it off in a year because we didn't want to pay the bills, so.
And I'll tell you what though, after like having the plan, I was no longer depressed every paycheck. I remember I would be so depressed, and once we got on a plan and it wasn't there no more.
It helped our sex life out. Just kidding. No more depression. No more depression with, going through the bills, and we had money left over every check to set aside or do whatever we wanted to do with it. So much better.
So that's a huge difference, right? From going from a budget deficit to having extra money that you can pick where you want to put it. So what changes did you make after that fact? Like what accounts did you open? Did you open specific accounts for specific savings goals?
Oh yeah. So I had to end up having a lot of sinking funds. So we were doing the envelope system at the time. So we would take out money for our envelopes, but then digital sinking funds for savings. So holidays, kids,
Parties.
celebrations. I had celebrations. So we definitely made sure we budgeted more for celebrating holidays and things like that.
Christmas fund. We had pretty much.
We used to always go in debt for Christmas, but we don't do that anymore.
Well, and you also start shopping in like May for Christmas, so we're out of the store. She's like, "Oh, this is a good Christmas gift," and we store it away for Christmas.
One year I went right after Christmas and I went
Good shopping.
I was like, all done, babe. Pack it into the attic.
Yep. We're good till next year now.
So I did open up a Raw. I don't put much in it right now because we are still trying to get to our 6-month emergency fund. It's been a slow progress, but that's because we've been vacationing and I don't feel guilty about it. So, but it's getting there. It's almost at 6 months. The Raw, I just have like a little bit, literally like $20 coming every check, just so I can have it flowing so that when I get ready and our 6 month is there, then our focus is going to be our investment, our retirement.
So I like your thought about putting something away for retirement though. So like even if you're still working on your savings goal of 6 months, you're still putting money away to your retirement. How important is that for people, especially at a young age, to start putting money away for retirement? And is that something that you knew right away to do, or is that something that you had to work up over time?
Listen, the wake up call was the investment of the 21-year-olds and the 30-year-olds, and they both started. The 21-year-old stopped investing after 10 years. The 30-year-old was investing the next 35 years, and the 21-year-old had $2 million at retirement. The 30-year-old had $1 million. And I was just like, what in the world? Like, why we didn't know this sooner? So no, I had no idea. And I never, even when I watched that, I really didn't know 100% what the hell he was talking about. Like, he was like, oh, I think he mentioned average rate of return 10%. And I was like, where can we get that at? Like, I still didn't even know listening to him, right? Until, little by little, I was just like trying to figure out what is he talking about, this 10%? Where is he getting this? And it's, having a retirement account, having a brokerage accounts and things like that. And now it's just like, okay, we need to figure this shit out. Like, it sucks knowing so late, but we get to show the younger generation. We haven't opened up our kids' accounts yet, but that's on our goal for this year. I've been slacking on it, but I think it's because I'm still trying to do the 6-month emergency fund. But yeah, it's nuts. Because even like, I remember telling people about the difference. They were like, yeah, but where are they putting it at? And I was like, I just know it's there somewhere. So it was a learning process. Did you know what he was talking about when
He was speaking Greek to me. The only thing, snowball effect, everything was all Greek, and so we sat down and like literally put everything on paper, and started setting up the goal chart where you were coloring it in, and it's like every few months we're getting higher and higher on it, and coloring that. What was a temperature gauge?
No, I had the one I did. I created it myself. Yeah. And I put debt free.
And we were coloring it in, and so we were almost fully colored the debt out.
What are you talking about?
Oh, so I didn't actually know exactly what he was talking about. I mean, I knew he was talking about investing, but I didn't connect the dots that, oh, I was investing in my 401k at the time. Like I wasn't connecting all the dots because I was putting money away in my 401k since I was able to, but I didn't know exactly what it meant. Like I knew I was saving for retirement. I didn't know how much I was making or how that money was growing or anything like that. I had no idea. So that was definitely an aha moment for me seeing that chart. And it honestly got me so engaged at that point to learn more about personal finance and figure out how can I get that. Because I think he was actually saying it was 12% at that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which a lot of people disagree with.
No, and you can look it up. I think it's S&P 500. If you look it up, it says 10.5.
Yeah.
Which
The average rate of return over what is the last 50 years or so, it's about 10.5, 11.
Amazing. And
yes.
to be transparent, we had rolled over his 401k to a brokerage and haven't put anything in it. It has been like 2 years maybe. And it grew how much just for the 2 years?
Almost 5,000.
So almost 5,000 with the 2 years. We haven't put nothing in there. So that shows you the power of compound interest.
Not only that, but I didn't know about I knew about 401k, but I never took advantage of it in my job. I was with my job 18 years, and I did it maybe 13 years, and I finally had the 401k put on.
Yeah.
So I was like, didn't know about that.
But it's probably like you also probably thought you couldn't afford to put money away because you guys are living in a budget deficit, negative paycheck to negative paycheck, as you said. So like putting that extra money away, you probably would have been like, all right, we're going to be even worse off. I know there's things like you could get a tax credit if you make under a certain amount to put money in your 401k. And we didn't know anything about that. So like if we had known about that, maybe we would have made different choices or put that money away and then got it back in tax at tax season. So that's just something to think about. And there's definitely income limits for that. So definitely look into the IRS website and see what the income limits are for that. But yeah, never knew about that before. And that was something that was eye-opening for me to see that, yeah, you can make a little bit of money, put money into your 401k for retirement and get a saver's credit for it through your taxes. And I had no idea that wasn't even a thing. So it's information like that we just need to share and just keep motivating people to definitely make it a priority to invest in their retirement.
Just so I can know how to open up a brokerage, I paid $60 for a 1-hour workshop because I didn't know what I was doing. And like they tell you like, oh yeah, just open up a brokerage account. They don't tell you that you need to look up a ticker symbol. They don't tell you like where you need to put in. So I literally paid $60 for a workshop just so it can show me step by step. And then that's how we were able to transfer his stuff over and actually like, okay, I know it's a ticker symbol now. And I know what fund I want to put the money in. Because I think when I first did it, I didn't even put it in fund. So it's like, yeah. So it's sad, and I know what we've experienced. We don't want nobody else to experience, and this is why we do what we do, right? We just want to share all the information with everybody.
Yeah, I think that's super important is, just because you open up a Roth IRA or IRA or any type of brokerage account, it doesn't mean that money is going to automatically be invested. You have to put the money in to fund the account, but then you have to pick your investments that the money would be invested in. So like you said, doing the research on the ticker symbols. And I know I like to just pick index funds, but are there any other funds that you like to pick besides index funds?
I honestly, it's either total money stock market or S&P 500 because both of them average 10%, and I just wanted to like the 10%. We're not in a rush. Like I know a lot of people are more aggressive. I just want to be a lazy investor, put everything in one fund, call it a day. But I know there's a lot though. They have Dow Jones. They have.
I've been quiet because I didn't take the course. So you guys are you're speaking Latin right now.
I honestly just did it because I needed to learn the steps, and I couldn't find that anywhere. So I just did the workshop, and it was worth it. He's up 5,000.
Yeah, I would say $60 is a good investment to make to get that knowledge and know what to do with that money. Definitely worth it. Is there any piece of financial wisdom you would like to give to people who are newly married and integrating their finances together? What kind of advice would you give them to start up that journey?
Just being open and understanding that you're a team. You have to attack it together. Like if somebody comes into a marriage with their own debt, it's now both your debt. And just being transparent with each other and laying it all out. Because once you visualize it, that's when it clicks in your head. Once you visualize everything, you're like, wow, I'm spending my money on this. I'm spending my money on that. And like we can be doing something better with that. And being disciplined. That's the other thing, is being disciplined. You're going to have to eat leftovers a lot, cook more than you would eat for dinner just so you can have leftovers the next day or the next 2 days, and just being used to that, because that helped us too with me or eating out every day at work. I'm spending 10 to 15 bucks every day for lunch, and that stuff adds up. So I mean, that's, for me, it was just submitting and knowing that we need to do this. We need to be disciplined if we want to reach our ultimate goal, which is to be debt free and being able to put our money where we want it to go, not have to send it to creditors and things like that you don't want to have to pay them. You just want to pay them what you owe them and nothing more, and that's it.
I want to elaborate on the integration, because I had a client once who was a husband and wife together, and I kind of laid out all their finances and their debts, and I was like, this person, you can get this off in 6 months. And the husband was very hesitant. And he was like, how do you expect us to pay that off in 6 months? I was like, well, based on your finances, you can do it. And he was like, no, that's impossible. So our next meeting, I sat down and I explained every detail of what I saw in their finances. And what he didn't understand was he kept thinking of their finances separately. So he kept thinking, well, I'm only bringing this in. She's bringing this in. But it was never like, this is what we're bringing in. So when I did their layout and showed what they're bringing in together, then he was like, oh, it was like a light bulb went off. So it's really important where you do have your separate finances, but your goals have to be together. And that's very important. So I believe in having separate accounts. I also believe having a joint account for your bills and any future goals together. So if you do it that way, yeah.
Yeah, and I do think that like every couple is different. So what works for one couple may not work for the other. So definitely find out what works best for you and do that, because oftentimes people just try to replicate what other people do and it just doesn't work for them. There's many different situations. There could be, I know you brought this to my attention before, like a domestic abuse situation where, you may not necessarily want to combine finances if that's the case. So yeah, there's definitely some outliers there. You have to be very careful with certain situations like that. But yeah, you guys have come so far. You guys definitely have made financial progress over the years, and you definitely just shown that just because you're down one moment doesn't mean that you can't get out of it and make progress. And you guys definitely just give yourself a pat on the back, because you guys are a fantastic team and you work together and you came out on the other side. So should be proud of that.
And it's not over.
No,
Yes.
definitely not over.
Not over. We're going to keep going. We still have goals, especially investment goals. So we're going to keep going.
Our goal is to not have to clock in the morning to any company, any job, nothing. It's getting up when we want to get up, working when we want to work, and traveling whenever we want to travel, without having to say, hey, can I take these days off? Or I would like to take these days off. Will you approve it? No, we do what we want, come and go as we please, and just have that money flow coming in so that while we're sleeping, we're still making money. We're clocked in all the time in our own business and barely working.
We just want to keep growing.
Yes.
That's beautifully said. So yeah, just want to thank you guys for sharing some of your story and your tips for couples out there who may need to hear it. And yeah, I hope some of this information resonated with our audience. That's all for today's episode. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye.